So yeah, we're gonna build a stave core door. So for our core, I'm gonna be using poplar or maple. I have both because I went to the lumberyard that day to get that Spanish cedar, and I got lucky because they had a mismilled bundle there that they milled for some other customer, and it was the wrong profile. So what they ended up doing was putting it right there on the side and marking it absolutely dirt cheap. So I've got these bundles right here of, like I said, poplar and maple for almost free, guys. It was like ridiculous how cheap they gave those to me. So we're gonna use those as our core, and then we're gonna wrap those in our Spanish cedar. Pretty sweet. This thing is extremely smooth. So yeah, I ripped this thing down on the bandsaw just to get it closer to the dimension that I wanted. It's around 1 3/8 right now, and I want to get it down to 1 1/4, but I did it a little bit bigger because when I glue up all these stave cores, I want to be able to send them through the planer and really flush them up. So yeah, I need to rip this thing now to little 1/2-inch strips. So I'm gonna just rip this entire board into 1/2-inch strips, and those will basically be the bread of the sandwich of that poplar and maple stave core over there. All right, so I've got all those 1/2-inch strips of Spanish cedar ripped up for the outer pieces of our door. Now I've got to get those milled down to about this size, and then I can glue all this up. check it out. I made a bunch of long, weird looking cutting boards. Now this thing's looking more and more like a door. This one actually does look kind of cool though, with that figured maple, but it's all gonna get covered up when I veneer it. So yeah, these are milled down to 1.25 inches now. You can see I've got those saw marks there. I'm gonna run these across the joiner on both sides one last time. But yeah, next thing we'll do is make some veneers out of our Spanish cedar on the bandsaw over here, and then we'll wrap this. So this is 1.25 inches right here, and I want the door to be 1.75 inches thick. So that means I'm gonna have a 1/4 inch veneer covering all of this. Now you may think 1/4 inch veneer on each side of this door may be a little overkill, and I would say that's a fair thought to have, but I'm gonna go with that. Brent told me to do at least 1/4, and his reasoning behind it was if you have a repair or you have to work with this a little bit more, if you have a discrepancy, you have that 1/4 inch to work with, or you can actually send it through the planer again. You can actually machine it, and it's not gonna reveal that this is a stave core door, because you don't, you know, it doesn't really matter if people know, but you don't want that showing through. Like if you had to sand something out and you sand through like a 1/16 inch little paper veneer, you're gonna see this cutting board look to it of the staves. So that's why we're doing 1/4 inch, but I'm gonna get to that in the next video. So thanks for watching, guys, as I embark on this journey of making my first door. So this stuff is actually happening. I'm actually enjoying the process. You know, I could have went and bought a door that could cost me like $300 or $400 that was machined out of some big factory somewhere, and I could pop it in right there. But there's not any joy in that process. Like, I'm totally fine doing that. I'm not against that, but this is kind of something I've always wanted to try. So that's the reason I'm even doing this stuff. So yeah, I'm just trying to get down to the nitty gritty of all things millwork and trim and all that. So yeah, anyways, there's my rant for the day. And yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one when we make some veneers and glue them to our staves.